Blood matted the German shepherd's flank, dark against his dusted coat, but he didn't falter. His gait was heavy, labored yet unyielding, as he emerged from the tree line, carrying a small, unconscious girl across his back. Her blonde hair tangled and limp swayed with each step, her tiny arms draped lifelessly. Morning sunlight caught on the sheriff's coffee cup, now forgotten in his hand. Sheriff James Reynolds froze on his porch. The dog stopped 20 feet away, holding the sheriff's gaze. Beneath the grime and blood, Reynolds saw what others might miss, a tactical harness, partially buried in fur. Not a stray, not even close. This was a trained soldier. Cautiously, Reynolds approached, palms open, voice low. "Easy, boy. I'm not here to hurt her." The dog didn't back away. Instead, he slowly lowered himself to the pine-covered ground and let the girl slide onto the earth, his muscles taut with guarded trust. The child looked no older than 7, her skin pale, and scratched one shoe missing. Her breath came shallow but steady. As Reynolds knelt beside her, the German shepherd let out a low rumble, not threatening, but protective. He was guarding her. That much was clear. The sheriff checked her pulse, rapid, lips cracked, eyes bruised from fatigue. She needed help. Not just any help, careful, quiet help. So instead of calling it in, Reynolds carried the girl inside the dog, following like a sentinel. He placed her on the couch and picked up the phone. "Sarah," he said when she answered, "I need you. Bring your medical bag. And come alone." 20 minutes later, Dr. Sarah Mitchell stepped into the cabin, her eyes widening as they fell upon the girl lying still on the couch and the silent dog seated beside her, like a guardian statue. "What happened?" she asked, voice sharp with concern. "The dog brought her," Reynolds said, nodding toward the shepherd. "Came right out of the woods. She hasn't woken since." Sarah moved quickly. Years of small-town medicine had taught her how to respond before questions. She examined the child with gentle clinical care. "Severe dehydration," she murmured. "Cuts, bruises. No head trauma." But her voice hesitated. She turned the girl's arm, gently revealing several small circular scars, faded but deliberate. "Burns." Then, lifting the hair behind the girl's ear, she found a small tattoo, a triangle enclosing an eye. Reynolds stiffened. "That mark, I've seen it before." "So have I," Sarah replied quietly. "Years ago, a woman from the Light of Salvation Church came in for prenatal care. Same symbol. Never saw her again." The dog, unmoving, watched them both. As Reynolds knelt to inspect his harness more closely, he found a grimy name tape beneath the webbing Ranger. Below it, U.S. Army K9. The dog's ears twitched at the name. Ranger Reynolds repeated aloud. The German shepherd lifted his head in recognition. A soldier, not a stray. And now this soldier had completed his mission. Reynolds looked to the girl, still unconscious, to Ranger, who had chosen this cabin, this man to deliver her to, and felt something shift inside him. Whatever this child had fled, it was dark enough to drive her through wilderness, with only a wounded dog for protection. And whatever Ranger had endured, he had not abandoned her. The girl stirred just past midnight. No words, only a silent scream etched in the twist of her face. Sheriff Reynolds, half dozing nearby, jolted upright. Ranger was already there, his muzzle gently pressing into her hand. "You're safe now," Reynolds said softly, careful not to startle her. The girl's wide ocean blue eyes flicked around the room before landing on Ranger. Her body, tight with fear, eased slightly. Fingers dug into his fur, anchoring herself to the one being she trusted. Reynolds stayed back. "My name's Jim. That's Ranger. He brought you here." She didn't answer, but when he offered water, her trembling hands accepted. She drank slowly, watching him over the rim. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked gently. Nothing. Her gaze dropped. That's okay, he said, settling back. You don't have to talk yet. A knock at the door made her flinch violently. Water spilled across her lap. Ranger stood instantly, positioning himself between her and the door. It's just Dr. Mitchell Reynolds assured them. Sarah entered quietly, crouching with a warm smile. Hi, sweetheart, I'm Sarah. I'm a doctor. Can I check on you? The girl didn't resist, but kept her hand knotted in Ranger's fur. Later in the kitchen, Sarah's tone dropped. Those burns. They're not from accidents. And that tattoo. It's the same symbol I saw on a church member years ago. This child has been through hell, Jim. She hasn't said a word, Reynolds whispered. But she found a way to Ranger. And Ranger found a way to me. Not by chance, Sarah said. This dog didn't stumble on her. He was protecting her. Reynolds looked out the window toward the trees she'd emerged from. Whatever she had run from was still out there, watching, waiting. The phone rang. Reynolds answered his son's voice on the other end. Mark tense, formal, distant. Heads up. A girl's gone missing from the Light of Salvation Church. 7 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes. Reverend Carter's daughter. Reynolds glanced toward the girl sitting silently with Ranger at her side. When did she go missing? 3 days ago. They just filed the report this morning. 3 days, Reynolds echoed, suspicion creeping into his tone. They thought she was hiding on the grounds. Decided to go public now. After the call, Reynolds shared the news with Sarah. Her expression darkened. That timing's too convenient. Before they could unpack the implications, Ranger shifted on the porch. The girl stood beside him, staring into the tree-line arm, raised in a silent warning. Someone's coming, Reynolds realized aloud. 2 black SUVs appeared, cutting through the morning stillness. The first bore the gold emblem of the church, the same symbol branded behind the girl's ear. She shrank back, pressing herself into Ranger's side. From the first vehicle stepped Reverend Ethan Carter, immaculate in a dark suit, his silver hair catching the light. 4 men in black followed, silent, uniformed, alert. Sheriff Reynolds, Carter called. I believe you found my daughter. The girl trembled violently. Her fingers clutched Ranger's fur. Reynolds stepped forward, hand near his holster. Quite a surprise seeing you here, Reverend. Carter's smile never wavered. Small towns. News travels fast. As the men approached, Reynolds noticed something in their bearing. Not just followers. Trained, positioned, watching. She hasn't spoken, Reynolds said coolly, and she hasn't confirmed her identity. Her name is Lily Grace Carter. The Reverend insisted, voice coated in piety. But Reynolds saw the girl's subtle flinch at the name. Mind if I ask her myself? Reynolds challenged. She suffers from selective mutism, Carter said smoothly. Since her mother passed, still something was wrong. The girl's silence wasn't from disorder, it was from terror. Reynolds crouched beside the girl, sheltering her from the Reverend's gaze. Is that your father? He asked softly. No nod, no shake, just fear. Are you Lily? He tried again. Silence. Then slowly she reached into her pocket and placed a crumpled drawing in his hand. Her movements careful, shielded from the men outside. Reynolds unfolded the page. A child's drawing, a triangular house, an eye above the door, stick figures dressed in black, one small figure with a dog on a leash. Red circles marked the child's arms, exactly where the real girl bore burns. He tucked the page into his pocket. I'll keep this safe, he whispered. I promise. Reynolds turned back to Carter. I'll need identification. Documentation proving your relationship. The Reverend's smile stiffened. You know who I am, Protocol Reynolds said flatly. Carter's men stepped forward, with papers, birth certificate, medical records, even school registration. All appeared legitimate. Too legitimate. Where's the mother's death certificate? Reynolds asked. In our administrative building. You're welcome to come retrieve it. Carter replied, still measured, but increasingly cold. Sarah stepped in. As the attending physician, I recommend she remain under observation for 24 hours. Her dehydration was severe, and some wounds risk infection. Carter's tone sharpened. We have medical staff at our community. None with hospital privileges, Sarah answered firmly. The standoff hung heavy. Finally, Carter relented. One day then, I expect her returned. And Ranger, he asked. He stays with me, Reynolds said. I'm contacting the military to trace his handler. Carter's eyes narrowed a flicker of something darker beneath his practiced calm. As the SUVs disappeared down the driveway, the girl watched them go, unmoving, eyes wide with dread. Inside, Reynolds and Sarah stood over the child's drawing. Look, Sarah whispered. The marks on the arms match her burns. And that eye and triangle is the same as her tattoo. She's telling us the truth, Reynolds said. Just not with words. That night, as shadows deepened in the cabin, the girl emerged again, eyes clearer, face washed. In her hand, another drawing. Two girls identical holding hands. A large dog beside them. Twins, Sarah whispered. She has a sister. Reynolds crouched beside her, voice steady. Do you have a sister still at the church? A small nod. Clear. Definite. Two children in danger now, not one. She pointed to Ranger, then to herself, then to Reynolds's badge. Her finger trembled, but held firm. She's trying to explain how he found her, Sarah murmured. Then the girl reached into her pocket and handed Reynolds a weathered set of military dog tags. He read the name, Jessica L. Miller. The weight of it hit him like a fist. A name from his past. A Marine K-9 handler he'd served with in Afghanistan. Private Fierce, sharp-eyed. She'd vanished years ago after being recruited for special operations. You knew her, Sarah said gently. Reynolds nodded. We served together. Briefly. The girl touched the tags, then pressed her hand over her heart. Reynolds understood Jessica gave these to her. To keep safe. He stepped away, retreating to the bedroom. Closed the door. A secure call to his old contact, Michael Cortez, revealed more than he expected. Jessica Miller hadn't died. She'd gone undercover inside the Light of Salvation compound, investigating weapons stockpiling, child exploitation. Ranger had been her partner. 3 months ago she vanished, and Ranger disappeared from a secure military facility the same week. Now the dog had found the girl, delivered her to Reynolds. Can you keep her safe for 72 hours? Asked the federal agent over the phone. We're prepping an operation. Reynolds stared at the girl through the window. Ranger curled beside her. I'll keep her safe, he said. But she's not the only one in there. He didn't say the rest aloud. I'm going to get her sister out too. Sarah listened in stunned silence as Reynolds relayed what he'd learned. Jessica Miller had gone undercover. Ranger had been trained for search and rescue. And this girl, Lily, maybe was part of something deeper than anyone in Pinewood Creek suspected. They want us to hide her, Reynolds said, eyes heavy with tension. Keep her off the grid while they build the case. Sarah looked out the window at the girl drawing quietly at the table. And Carter. He'll come tomorrow to collect her. We'll stall, Reynolds replied. Fake a medical complication. Something that buys time. Sarah considered. What about your son? Mark works in that county. Could he help? Reynolds hesitated. We're not close. Not since Marie died. I don't know where he stands with Carter's influence on the board. Their conversation was cut short by a bark from Ranger. The girl was against the wall, wide-eyed. Reynolds moved to the window. A black SUV sat quietly at the edge of the woods, watching. No one exited. No lights. Just presence. We need to move, he said, turning to Sarah. Now. He grabbed the essentials. Sarah gathered the girl's drawings. They slipped out the back and into the trees. I know a place, Reynolds said. My old hunting cabin. Off the grid. No one knows it's there. Except Mark. Can we trust him? Sarah asked. I don't know. But we don't have a choice. Reynolds knelt beside the girl. "We're going somewhere safe," he said gently. "Will you come with us?" The girl looked to Ranger, then back to Reynolds. A pause. Then a firm nod. Ranger pressed to her side like a shadow, a protector born from war, now guarding a child in hiding. As they vanished into the wilderness, Reynolds cast one last glance at the cabin they left behind, knowing it wasn't just the child he was protecting anymore. It was the truth. They drove for 2 hours through rugged back roads, silence stretching between the pine-covered hills. The girl dozed in the back seat, her head resting against Ranger's thick coat. Sarah clutched her medical bag like armor. Reynolds kept his eyes on the road, but his thoughts spiraled. The hunting cabin appeared just before dusk, low, weathered, and nearly swallowed by trees. Reynolds parked half a mile away, then carried the girl while Ranger led the way on foot. Sarah followed, tired, but resolute. The cabin, though dusty, was intact. A potbelly stove, bunk beds, basic rations. Reynolds laid the girl down gently, brushing a wisp of hair from her cheek. As night fell, they worked in quiet rhythm, lighting a fire, boiling water, preparing canned soup. The warmth gave the illusion of safety, but none of them truly relaxed, especially not Ranger, who stood sentinel by the door ears, twitching with every crack of wind. Later, Sarah treated the girl's wounds. The burns were healing, but the deeper damage, the tremors, the silence remained untouched. "She's still in shock," Sarah whispered. "This is more than trauma. It's conditioning." Reynolds sat at the table staring into his coffee. "In Afghanistan, I saw kids like this. They'd seen too much, knew too much." Sarah placed a hand on his. "What kind of world makes a child flee into the wilderness with only a dog to protect her?" He didn't answer. Instead, he retrieved the girl's drawings, one of the compound, one of the twin sisters. The last showed a cage and a black-clad figure with a stick. A small figure cowered inside. Reynolds looked toward the bunk where the girl now slept, curled against Ranger's flank. The fire cast flickering shadows across her face. "She's not just trying to escape," he said slowly. "She's trying to lead us back. There's more than one life at stake." The weight of it settled between them. They were no longer witnesses. They were allies. The cabin lay silent, wrapped in darkness. Only the soft hiss of the stove and Ranger's steady breathing filled the void. Reynolds stayed by the window, his service weapon resting in his lap, watching the tree line for movement. Then a flash, brief, precise. A flashlight beam down the slope, then gone. He whispered to Sarah, who was half asleep in the chair. "We're not alone." She roused instantly, moving to the girl. "What do we do?" "We wait," Reynolds said. "If they knew we were here, they'd have stormed in. They're searching. Not sure yet." The next hour passed with breathless tension. Ranger remained alert, his muscles taut. The girl somehow slept through it all, nestled behind the bunk, the most protected spot Reynolds could find. Eventually, the forest quieted. No more lights, no sounds. But the warning lingered in the air. Just before dawn, Reynolds's alarm vibrated in his pocket. The signal today, Reverend Carter would arrive at Pinewood Regional, expecting to collect the child. "We need a new plan," Reynolds muttered. "This won't hold." Sarah rubbed her eyes. "We can't stay here much longer, and we can't go back to town. Not until the feds move in." He stared at the girl again, how peaceful she looked finally for just a moment. But it was borrowed time, and the hourglass was running out. Reynolds paced the cabin floor, the boards creaking beneath his boots. "I told the station I was heading to Bozeman for emergency family leave," he muttered. "If Carter comes looking, they'll think we're there." "No one will think to search this far into the mountains," Sarah added, placing another log into the stove. "But if they're watching, if they tracked us, we're ghosts now," Reynolds said, "and we stay that way until backup arrives." The girl stirred on the bunk. Ranger lifted his head. She sat up, blinking, then reached for the small satchel of paper she kept by her side. A new drawing formed under her fingers, this one of two girls behind bars, a stick figure in black looming over them. One girl was crying, the other missing. Sarah knelt beside her. "Is your sister still there?" "Still with them." The girl nodded. Reynolds's heart twisted. "We'll get her. Both of you deserve to be free." The girl pointed to Ranger, then to the drawing, and finally to Reynolds's badge again. "She's asking for trust," Sarah murmured. "She wants to believe in us." Reynolds nodded slowly. "Then we'd better earn it." He opened the cabinet and pulled out a battered topographic map, spreading it across the table. "There's a fire road that runs near the compound's back perimeter. If we can get close without being seen." Sarah cut in gently. "We're not soldiers anymore." "No," he agreed, eyes hard. "But someone has to act like one. Because those kids don't have time to wait." Outside, snow began to fall, light silent, cloaking the cabin in white. Inside, a child clung to a dog, and two adults prepared for the fight of their lives. Morning broke gray and silent. No birdsong, no breeze, just the heavy weight of choices yet to be made. The girl sat curled in the corner of the cabin, cradling a crayon in one hand, the other gripping Ranger's harness. Her newest drawing showed a dog standing in front of two children, teeth bared, facing a shadowy figure with red eyes. "Protection," Sarah whispered. "She sees Ranger as their shield." Reynolds nodded. "Then we keep him close." His phone still had no signal, but he kept checking, hoping for a sign from the feds. Something. Anything. Sarah paced. "Carter will know we're not at the hospital. By now he's spinning a story. He'll call it a kidnapping," Reynolds muttered. "And with his influence, it'll stick." Sarah paused. "What about Mark?" Reynolds hesitated, then reached for the satellite phone he'd brought from the truck. He dialed his son. "Dad," Mark's voice crackled. "Where the hell are you? I need you to listen. I have evidence. Real evidence." A pause. "You disappeared with a kid people say is the Reverend's daughter. She's not safe there, Mark. There's another child, a twin, still inside. And I have a military dog trained to protect her. He led her to me." A longer silence. "You always said I didn't show up," Reynolds added quietly. "Well, I'm showing up now. For this kid. Because someone has to." Mark exhaled hard. "Okay. Tell me everything." By the time Reynolds ended the call, a weight had lifted. Not gone, but shifted. He had someone else in the fight now. The girl looked up at him. No smile, but her eyes, once vacant, now held a question. He crouched beside her. "We're going to bring her back. Your sister, I promise." She didn't nod. She didn't speak. But she leaned into him, and that was enough. Nightfall crept in again, colder now, tighter, as if the forest itself held its breath. Ranger paced the window. The girl clutched her newest drawing, two girls running toward a sunlit field. Ranger beside them, no shadows behind. A hope. Inside the cabin, Reynolds laid out gear, flashlights, maps, extra rounds. "The team will move in 48 hours, he said. "We hold until then. And if we're found before," that Sarah asked, "then we run. Again. But I won't give her back. Not to them." The girl approached. In her small hand, a folded note. This time, not a drawing. She passed it to Reynolds. 3 words in careful, shaky print. "She is waiting." His jaw tightened. "We won't let her wait long." He turned to Sarah. "Tomorrow we hike closer. Just enough to scout the perimeter. Not to engage. Not yet." Sarah nodded. "You trust the feds will act?" "No," Reynolds said. "I trust Ranger. And this girl." The fire crackled. Ranger curled beside the girl's blanket, his body a wall of muscle and memory. Reynolds sat beside them. His badge rested on the table next to Jessica Miller's dog tags. From somewhere in the darkness, a coyote howled, distant but echoing. It would not be easy. The system was slow. The power Carter held was vast, but here in this one room, they had something stronger. Conviction. He looked to the girl, then to the door. "You're not alone," he said, and this time she nodded.